All right, let's take a look at phonological awareness. So here are some of the questions that we'll be answering with this video, and we'll have these same questions show up at the end, and then you can test yourself and see if you can answer them. So talk about what is decoding, digraphs versus letter blends. Let's see, when children can break a word into different sounds and then read and write the word, what is it called? What are the characteristics of the phonetic stage? What is an open syllable? Okay, so we can handle all of those, no problem. So let's get it going. Phonological awareness should be developed before the student learns letter to sound correspondence. All of the developmental stages of phonological awareness prior to this one deal exclusively with sounds and sound combinations. Phonological awareness is built through clapping to sounds of words, playing the name game, and reading stories out loud. Phonological awareness improves the ability to decode multi-syllable words. So let's get into decoding blends and digraphs. And so it looks like part of the title is missing here, where it just says digraphs, but we'll go over decoding blends and digraphs. Successful decoding occurs when a student uses his or her knowledge of letter-sound relationships to accurately read and pronounce a word. If letters make a single sound, they are called digraphs. And in letter blends, you can hear the sound of each letter. So, like as an example that we have here, right, the able, A-B-L-E, is, I-O-U-S, ing, I-N-G. You can easily hear each letter when you pronounce those. However, like the difference between letter blends and digraphs is that blends are two letters that make two sounds, right? So like here we have the SM, so like in the word small, for example, you easily hear both the S and the M in small. But digraphs tend to make one sound, right? So like a CH word like cheetah, right, is we tend to not necessarily hear the C and the H in the ch word, right? Um, or like shotgun for an SH type word is there, and that's would be called a digraph, and we hear that kind of as one sound, which makes it much more difficult to learn how to spell. Okay, phoneme. Uh, So phoneme identity is when children recognize the same sound in different words. Categorization is when children recognize the odd word in the set. Blending is when students listen to separate phonemes and combine them to make a word. Right, and then we have the example here of play, of combining the P-L-A-Y. And segmentation is when children can break a word into different sounds and then can read and write the word. The example here we have is bat. And so with these four, you could obviously imagine how a multiple choice question might show up, right? Like what would be an example of that? When children recognize the odd word in the set, and then they'll say, is it identity, categorization, blending, or segmentation, right? So we want to be familiar with all four of these. Stages. So we got three stages that we want to be familiar with. The pre-communicative stage has random strings of letters, but little to no knowledge of letter-sound relationships. The phonetic stage, readers are able to map the sounds of short words, and for the first time, all these sounds correlate to letters. And the semi-phonetic stage is similar to the phonetic stage, but often with abbreviations for words, such as we wrote out here, just the letter R rather than writing out ARE. Or like another example would be just the letter U rather than writing out YOU. And then, of course, all of us text message with the semi-phonetic stage, at least to a certain extent. But that's, I guess, another topic. Um, and just some other concepts and terminology. So these four often also show up as a question, um, and being able to differentiate from each of them. So phonics is a method of teaching uh, people to read by correlating sounds with letters or groups of letters in alphabetic writing. Syntax is a set of rules in a language. It dictates how words from different parts of speech are put together in order to convey a complete thought. Morphology is the study of words, how they are formed, and their relationship to other words in the same language. And then finally, semantics is how language represents meaning. Right? And so easily the question could be, how does language represent meaning? Is it through phonics, syntax, morphology, semantics? So being familiar with all of those four, important. And we'll keep going here. We got three other concepts and terminology. Okay, the irregular vowel family does have some special words that phonics doesn't necessarily cover. Examples that we have listed here are with IGH, representing, like, as examples, sight or light. OST, we have cost or most. The ed ending for played, watched are just two examples of hundreds. And then finally the AUGH, and some examples here are laugh or daughter. So those all would fall under the umbrella of the irregular vowel family. You need to be familiar with open syllable. So open syllable has the first syllable end in a vowel and is lengthy in pronunciation. So, so the examples we have here are paper, vehicle, and remote. Right. So the vowel, like for paper, it's that ends in that A, and then that's the break from a syllable standpoint. Words that start with that re, there's a ton of them, but remote is obviously one. Return would be another. The alphabetic principle is the knowledge of predictable relationships between written letters and spoken sounds. You'd also like to be familiar with that. And then finally, just knowing that the student must be able to process, decode, and understand words in order to read automatically and with little effort. So that gets us to everything we wanted to cover on a phonological awareness. And then we come back to our questions again. Right? So I'll leave those for you to try to answer. Great ideas to hit the pause button. Make sure you can answer all of these. This is really probably at least a very important part. If not, I'm tempted to say the most important part of this process, which is if you just listen to me say it, it's very obvious. Answers seem easy, but as far as committing these things to your memory and so that they stick, big part of it is answering these questions.